Recording in progress.
Let's just start our study today, raising our thoughts to our Father and Creator, our Master Jesus, and the benefactors, so that we may get inspired in our study of today about the reality of the spiritual world and that of the exchange between the two worlds. May all the teachings that we receive, the guidance, the inspiration, become part of us, changing our negative attitudes, transforming our vices into virtues. So with that permission, we start our study today. So be it.
So be it.
Okay, welcome everyone. Then let me share my book with you all. Just enlarge it a little bit. Oops, too much. So last week, you people stopped here, item number 6. This is the summary about, the means of recognizing the quality of spirits. And I think you did all the way through number 5. We start, from number 6 today. Okay. 6. The language of elevated spirits is always identical, if not in form, at least in substance. I'll just stop here. Just a reminder that Spiritism is based on the universal information, universal teaching that the Spirit brought. So what Kardec is saying here is that the language, the way they talk, because they are more elevated spirits, the form and the substance, or at least the substance, meaning that, what we hear from a spirit today may not differ too much from what we hear from another elevated spirit, some other time. Their ideas are the same, whatever may be the time and place. Their communications might be more developed or less so, depending on the circumstances, needs, or ease of communicating, but they will never be contradictory. So we see that the situation is more related to the group, to the moment, than to the spirits themselves. So they say, Kardec says here, that, the development might be greater or lesser, depending on the circumstances of the moment, and why the communication is being given to that group, the needs that the group has at that moment, or humanity as a whole, and of course the ease of communicating, and very much related to the instrument, the medium, or the group of mediums present at that particular meeting. But they will never be contradictory. So we can never say that, the same elevated spirit or group of spirits gave this piece of information for this group and a completely opposite piece of information to another group. One of them is not right. One of them does not come from elevated spirits. If two communications under the same name contradict each other, one of them is obviously apocryphal. The true one will be the one in which nothing belies the known character of the personage. between two communications signed by Saint Vincent de Paul, for example, one proclaiming unity and charity, and the other tending to sow disharmony, no sane person could possibly be deceived. This is, a case where we can clearly see the distinction between the two, the contradiction between one and the other. But as Charles pointed out last week, sometimes the difference is subtle. Sometimes they repeat what other more elevated spirits have repeated, but with that, they add some very subtle pieces of information which are actually not true, are false, or hide their identity, and is trying to, conduct us the wrong way. So that's why we need to be careful. The interesting thing is when reading this, all the items here summarized by Kardec, we will see that we are dealing with human people. The same that applies to spirit here, we will see that applies to people. Serious people won't talk gibberish. They will always act in a certain way. The content of what they say is more or less along certain lines. We don't expect someone who is always serious, who is very professional in what he says or the way he talks to people, all of a sudden, start mocking people and in doing things that, are not in accordance to what we know about that person. So we'll see that it's the same with spirits. The only problem is that we have an extra layer. We don't see and deal directly with the spirits, but we have an intermediary between us and the spirit, what makes it slightly more difficult. But the elements that we have to analyze the content, the interaction, the type of spirit that is talking to us is basically the same we apply in our daily life. Good spirits only say what they know, keeping quiet or confessing their ignorance about what they do not know. We see this with people who are really serious about what they say. They take into consideration that, if they don't know, they tell us immediately, well, what I know goes as far as this. I wouldn't, tell you this or that because I really don't know. And we see that behavior in people of good character. But some people, they think that they need to have answer for everything, even about things they don't know. So they'll try to, create an answer to tell something that, perhaps they don't even believe in that, but they feel the need to give us an answer, no matter if it's true or not. So we see that with spirits as well. Evil spirits confidently talk about anything without any regard for the truth. Every notorious scientific heresy, every principle that offends common sense reveals fraud, even though the spirit presents itself as being enlightened. These are very important aspects that we should look at when receiving message from spirits. A scientific heresy, something that goes against common sense, what is known, what is well established. All of a sudden, the spirit comes and tells us that it's something, forget that, it's rubbish. Things are completely different. Be in science, be in different aspects of science, not only in areas like physics or engineering or wherever, but also in social sciences as well. The behavior that community should have, or how the world should go along certain difficult moments and so on. When they come with things that are completely against what is well established and known, we should be careful. We should analyze it, and a good piece of advice is to keep it in a drawer, and later from other sources that may be confirmed or not, but we shouldn't jump into conclusion. If we meet someone out of the blue, that person tells us something that is completely fantastic. Oh, now you can buy a ticket and travel in time. You can go anywhere. You say, no, you're kidding. Yes, it's true. We won't believe that. We'll check for more information. We want confirmation from other people, especially people we know. People who we see them as reliable source. And then we check that many times. So we should act the same way with spirits. We shouldn't just say, oh, Isaac Newton came last night in our meeting and he told that the physics we know is rubbish. Now gravity is the other way around. It's, down upwards and not upwards down. So the apple, instead of falling in our head, we will fall. So we say, well, keep that, analyze, because there's always something we can learn from that. Even if it's from, mocking spirits or evil spirits, we can always learn, oh, this is a trick that they normally use, but never accept everything as being true just because we've been given a famous, nice name. Number 8. Frivolous spirits are further recognizable by their willingness to foretell the future and to specify the dates of physical events that we should not know about. We've been seeing that every now and then. Some time ago, we had, these dates from an ancient calendar that said the world would end. They would give, the month, they would give the year and everything. And that went by. And then they said, no, we had to make some adjustments. Wasn't actually that day. That date, was some months later. And then it didn't happen. So we see that in frivolous spirits, they like doing that because they want to call our attention. They want us to, uh, rely on them for information, to trust them, to believe in what they have to say. So to captivate us, they come and, pretend to tell us things about the future with precision. It's different when a spirit says, well, humanity is walking in one direction. No, it's important to raise the moral standards, then better days will come. That, is fine. But to say, well, there will be, certain things in that, and in those days, deluge again. The earth will see a deluge again. Well, 2/3 of the earth, of the land on the earth will be now underwater and whatever. So something very, or to say that an asteroid will come and destroy part of the planet, will be a near extinction of humanity and so on. So we should be skeptical about this type of information. And we also have, it's very common in certain countries or for certain people to go and, ask spirits about personal life. If they are going to be successful in this, what they should do next in their business, in their personal life, and whatever. That is very common in certain areas. Here in Brazil, it's very common. Some people like going anywhere where there is someone they know that receives such and such a spirit, and then they consult and say, well, what shall I do now? What shall I do regarding this, regarding that? So they don't do a thing without consulting with spirits. And what Kardec is telling us here is that it's not the job of good enlightened spirits to come and tell us things in detail, especially if they are personal matters. Good spirits may enable us to have a presentiment of future things when such knowledge is useful, but they are never precise as to dates. Any proclamation of an event to happen at a specific time is an indication of fraud. It's very clear. It is an indication of fraud. So we should be very, very skeptical about that. 9.
Munir?
Oh, yes, Yasmin? Yeah. Thanks, Charles. Hello, Yasmin.
Pardon. Pardon. Good morning. Yes, good morning, good evening to, and good afternoon. Yes, as you described it just now about those revelations about the future, it can be really tricky, and even it can be sometimes more personal. I know someone who was kind of listening to spirits telling her about her future disincarnation, and how she would be reincarnated. And it was always, oh, it will be soon, it will be soon, and it will be soon. But every time the kind of the due date, the end of the year or few months, it never, she never died. And I started telling her, maybe you should not listen to those spirits, because maybe they're not, I think they're talking too much. I mean, they're talking too much. They say a lot of things, but it never really happened. So you should try think about what they're telling. And what was the answer I got from that person was, well, yes, but we can make mistakes. And I was, okay, that's right. And that person said, didn't Jesus say that we have to forgive 77 times? I'm sorry, I hope you understand the meaning, but
Yeah, sure.
it's a proverb, but yeah. And so at the beginning, I was a bit, wow, the spirits are very precise. And now I'm just like, no, I just don't want to listen to it anymore. I just don't want to hear about it anymore. And we shouldn't, my opinion on this is that we shouldn't base our life on what spirits tell. We are the own master of our life, and whatever may happen, we just need to fulfill our life as much as we can, and as much as we want to, according to the laws and everything. Well, I guess that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you're right, Yasmin. You're right. And I think, good spirits, what they do is they give us instructions, teachings, so that we can make the decisions, we can make the right choices. But they'll never come and say, no, this is going to happen, you should do this, or, if you bring me this is also very common. And normally they ask for things that are quite valuable and expensive. I knew a woman, she usually said, don't you have some jewelry, something of, high value? The spirits appreciate that. And she would ask for that, item from the person, just for the spirits to do something about something negative that was about to happen, to, avoid that. And so it's very common, they manipulate us. But good spirits, they only give us advice. They only bring messages of encouragement and of the means for us to progress. And never, as it's been said here, and you mentioned, Yasmin, giving us dates and telling us what's going to happen in details. They are very careful in the way they deal with us and the messages they bring. Nine, highly evolved spirits express themselves simply without prolixity. Their style is concise without excluding poetry in their ideas and expressions. They are clear and intelligible to everyone and not require effort to be understood. They possess the art of saying much in a few words, for every word has its just use. Less evolved or pseudo-scholar spirits, on the other hand, hide the emptiness of their ideas behind pompous phrases. Their language is always pretentious, ridiculous, or obscure by dint of appearing profound. We see that amongst people as well, some people whose aim is actually to bring a message to us in a very clear, precise way. They say that in few words, but someone who wants just to create a situation, they will come and, tell us many times the same thing in different ways, use perhaps, disguise their intentions and so on with, pompous words, phrases, and so on. So we see the same amongst spirits, Good spirits they go straight to the point, and in a short, very clear way. So this is another element that we have to distinguish when the spirit who is bringing us the message is an elevated spirit or not. We shouldn't forget also that there are spirits who aren't evil as such, but whose knowledge is very much limited. And because it is limited, what they say should be put into the right context. It's like my opinion. I'm not an evolved spirit. I'll give you my opinion. It's my opinion with all the limitations that I have. But it's not because I'm saying that to you as a spirit through a medium that you should accept that as true. We should use the same criteria that we use when, talking to different people and listening to what they have to say. In my view, I don't see, any difference, because in the end, those talking to us, although through mediums, they are just, people like us. Ten, good spirits never give orders. This is very important. This is another way. So when receiving a message, communication from the spirits, we can always check all these different ways, that Kardec is pointing out to, see what type of spirit's talking to us. It's not just one of them. Sometimes one aspect is difficult, just using that aspect to understand the level of spirit talking to us. But if we analyze these different aspects that Kardec is telling us here, it becomes in a more, I would say, precise, the analysis that we do. And one of them is that they don't give orders. You have to do that. They will just tell us, things so that we make the conclusion, we draw the conclusion, we understand and decide what is important to do, what is not important to do. So if a spirit comes saying, you must do that, we immediately recognize the type of spirit that is talking to us. They do not wish to impose themselves, the good spirits, but only to provide counsel. If they are not listened to, they withdraw, quiet, without making a fuss, without, saying anything else. They just quietly, go to the side, withdraw, and leave us to decide in the end of the day, what we want to listen to, what we don't. Evil spirits are authoritarian. They give orders, want to be obeyed, and do not withdraw no matter what. Some spirits, they are very much stubborn in that way. They just, try to find different ways for us to obey, to follow what they want us to do. And they are persistent in that. Whereas we see good spirits, they just give their counsel in a very humble way, as true friends. And if we don't listen to them, as Kardec says here, they will withdraw without making a fuss. All spirits who impose themselves betray their status. They are exclusivists and absolutes in their opinions and pretend to be privileged with the truth. They demand blind trusts and never appeal to reason, since they know that reason will unmask them. So I think Kardec is very, very clear here, showing that, this is another way to distinguish good spirits from not so good or even evil spirits who are communicating. We shouldn't forget that some of us were not elevated as spirits. We are still too earthbound in the sense of our way of seeing things, of behaving, is still very much attached to the material world, not to the spiritual reality. So we act as if we were in a physical body concerned with material things without showing any a sign of spiritual ideas or spiritualized ideas that, go beyond the material needs, the material life. And this is another way that we can distinguish one from the other. Number 11, good spirits are never flattering. They approve of any good that is done, but always prudently. They won't say, wow, wonderful, you guys are great. Oh, you did such a wonderful job. Yes. No. Sometimes we have the impression that they even, in a subtle way, they say to us, yes, but you should do even more, this kind of thing. What we did is never enough, but not in a way to offend us or to, give less value to what we did, but actually as a way to encourage us and say, this is just the beginning, just the beginning. So do more, go on, but in a subtle way, not in a flattering way or in a way actually to, humiliate us or to despise what we did, individually or as a group. Evil ones used exaggerated praise and excite pride and vanity, though they proclaim humility, and they seek to exalt the personal importance of those whom they want to win over. This is something that they normally do. And sometimes they like putting one against the other, saying, oh, good, oh, today this medium, he's wonderful. We like working with him because he is this, he is that, or this group, or so they try to, as Kardec says, to exalt the personal importance. And we should bear in mind that's why we should cultivate humility. We should cultivate the virtues, not to fall prey of this type of spirit. No matter what, we should always thank the good spirits for the work done, because without them, we wouldn't do a thing. Sometimes we, inside, we still think, oh, yes, no, I did a good job. Oh, yes, that day. But we should avoid this type of personal behavior, because spirits, evil spirits, they like that and they boost that, they use that for us to fall prey. And maybe it is the beginning of one or the process of obsession, as we've seen before. It starts like that, giving, attention, paying attention to what they say and enjoying that. So they'll come and flatter every time they come. They'll do that because in that way we will be attached to them. We will be listening to them. We will be obeying them. So that's why it's so important to forget the person, to see ourselves as a glass, a piece of glass, transparent as much as possible, and everything good or not so good in communication, we should, just leave that to God, to the benefactors, and say, well, I had no, other interference in that, but just to try to do the best I could, and acknowledging that we are still imperfect, and that our effort should be to prevent our imperfections from interfering with the work. Hello, Elsaline.
Hello, Monique. Hello, everybody. I think about this is maybe a mediumship because I think about when people we study together, we have groups, we study, we have written what we have already and good relation when we talk to each other and I think this is most about mediumship, really, or because maybe I can say, for instance, for example, to Charles, oh Charles, you are very, very good to explain for because we have studied, together, so we don't think about it is only one without the personal importance. No, because it is so not natural. After so many years we studied together, so we know each other about not all, but the important side is we know each other, we like each other, and so I think this is more. I don't know if when Jasmine said something. This is more to than leadership, or when we works well. Assume, okay, or you can. I would like to answer me that. Thank you, because sometimes I think, oh, dude, maybe mom better man saying anything or.
Yes, I understand what you're trying. I think I understand what you're trying to say. It's normal when someone makes an effort, for instance, to overcome some difficulties and to, if they are presenting something, they do their best to present in a nice way. It's always good to give a feedback, but it shouldn't become something, to boost the ego, the person to feel better than others, and in any other aspect. But it is important to value the effort of the person. But when it comes to mediumship, and even the dialoguers, we are just instruments. We are, I would say, the smallest part in importance of all the work. Because, but without mediums, the spirits wouldn't be able to communicate in most cases, but there are many other mediums as well. So what we should see as an opportunity for us, with all our imperfections, we are not perfect. It's not because we are perfect that the spirits are using us, especially the good ones, to be mediums. No. We have an organic predisposition, and we are spirits trying to evolve. You don't go to a kindergarten and expecting to find a high school student there. No. University student and then the graduate student. No, you won't. So we are all in the kindergarten of life as such. So we all are at similar level, not exactly the same, but similar ones. And when we are mediums or when we are dialoguing with the spirits, we are given the opportunity to do a work that will help us improve. And at the same time, do something for other spirits and even incarnate ones when we bring messages of consolation to them and so on. So we should always put ourselves in a very humble position. What comes into my mind is what Jesus said, when you go sit at the last row, don't go and sit at the first one, because they may ask you to go to the back of the room if there is someone more important than you. It's the same. We go there, always put ourselves in that position. So we'll benefit from whatever faculty we have. And I would extend that in life to everything, because sometimes we are a bright person in our profession, a very bright, very intelligent one, very clever. But even that has been granted by spirits, because I may have a stroke the next day. And where is all that? It's there in the spirit, but not in my present incarnation anymore. I won't be able to express myself. And so everything has been granted for us to do our best and not to boost our ego and to think that we are better than other people, and particularly with mediumship. And of course, we should accept the communication, but analyze the content. We are not to discriminate at the very beginning the communication that, but we should be careful with the content of that communication. We even don't know the purpose. Why is that spirit coming so often to tell us these things? Perhaps after a while, the spirit will change. It's not an elevated spirit. It's trying to convince us of something. But in the end, he gets convinced of something different and changes. We don't know. That's why it's important to keep that pattern, of being humble, of being working hard in us to be as good an instrument as possible. And the benefactors will do the work. And as I said, the messages will come, and then we analyze, and try to establish what type of message is that, what type of spirit has dictated that message. And the other thing is, why is that spirit coming to this group, and sometimes repeatedly, to tell us about these things? We are used to suffering spirits, to talking, dialoguing with them, because we clearly see what they need, what their needs are. But when a spirit comes and is not clear, the intention, the needs, and whatever, we may reject the presence of that spirit. And what Kardec is saying here is a way for us to analyze what type of spirit is that. And of course, seeing if we can accept what the spirit is saying, or perhaps even find a way to help that spirit. Because, sometimes they come thinking that they will convince us of something. After a while, they end up convinced of something they weren't expecting. We are helping them in any way. And we shouldn't forget also that the mechanism of mediumship is something that can improve. So with time also, we who are mediums, we become better mediums in the exercise of mediumship. I always remember what Divaldo Franco said about his first book. For 10 years, he received messages. 10 years. And he kept that in a drawer. After 10 years, he had a pile of paper, and his mentor just came and said to him, "Now you throw that in the bin." "What? Throw that in the bin?" And he said, "Why?" She said, "Well, you've been practicing all this time, so this has no other value but an exercise that you did during all these 10 years." And then after that, he received so many books from different spirits and so on. So
Joana de
in-
Angelis. It was Joana de Angelis.
yes, yeah, Joanna de Angelis, yeah,
Yes.
they did that. So, yes, so, you know, if he wasn't a humble person, he would get, you know, upset with her and say, I've wasted 10 years. And it's the same here. We don't know the purpose. Kardec is telling us how to distinguish and what we should accept as advice, what, you know, we should see regarding the spirit who is communicating. And if there is a way to help that spirit, let's help. Let's help. After all, mediumship is, you know, basically for an instrument for help of those in need. And sometimes the need is not, you know, very clear. Some people, as I said, they come crying, they come in despair, they come lost. But some people, they are so enveloped in what they think and believe that they try to convince us at the first place. But in the end, they, you know, the aim is actually to help them to change their ideas and so on. Number 12. High order spirits remain above formal pluralities in all matters. Ordinary spirits are the only ones who give importance to trifling details that are incompatible with truly elevated ideas. Every meticulous prescription is a sure sign of inferiority and deception on the part of a spirit who employs a pompous name. So another, you know, way here of distinguishing, you know, the type of spirit communicating is, you know, been given here by Allan Kardec, that in inferior spirits or spirits who are trying to deceive us under a famous name, you know, are the ones who give us meticulous prescriptions. And we should take this as a sign of the inferiority of the spirits. And when we say inferiority, sometimes I feel uncomfortable with this word. Inferiority in the sense that it's not an elevated spirit in moral and sometimes even in intellectual terms, but, you know, it is not a permanent condition. 13. We must distrust any bizarre and ridiculous names used by certain spirits who want to impose their credibility. It would be extremely absurd to take such names seriously. Sometimes, you know, it becomes so, as Kardec says, so ridiculous. You know, we clearly see that the spirit, that spirit is not who he or she is saying he or she is. But, you know, and we can clearly distinguish. Sometimes it's not that clear. And sometimes I know some people, to give them more importance than they have, they say that they are friend of famous people or people we know and you know, who are very close to us. Oh, I'm the friend of so and so, and oh, I'm acquainted to, you know. So spirits do the same, you know. Sometimes they say they belong to a certain group, or, you know, they are of a certain level that they are not. As I said before, what Kardec is giving us through these items here is also, you know, something that we can apply to people in our daily life. Incarnate ones.
Munir,
Oh, yes, Charles. Hello.
Lise rose her hand.
Oh, okay. Thanks. I
Yeah, hi,
apologize. I have
everyone.
two screens here and I'm
Ah.
always looking up.
Yeah, hi. I want to go back to the previous paragraph
Yeah.
12, where
Yeah.
it does talk about pluralities and
Yeah.
says that high order spirits remain above formal pluralities in all matters. The word pluralities actually means the state or quality of being a child. The quality of being plural is childish foolishness or triviality. So
Yeah.
it's childish matters, you know, they are far superior to that, basically.
Yeah, yeah. They won't talk about, you know, the things that are not really important. You
Yeah.
know, spend time talking about things that say, well, it's not important, you know. Why are they spending so much time? So this is another clear sign. Thanks, Liz.
You're welcome.
"14. We must equally distrust spirits who lightly present themselves using highly venerated names, and only with much reserve should we accept what they say." Again, they use, you know, certain names, they pretend to be certain people well known and venerated, and, you know, we should be careful with what they say in order for us to accept it or not, to follow it or not. It is especially in such a case that strict control becomes indispensable, because it is frequently a mask that they wear to lead us to believe in their pretended intimate relationships with pure spirits. It's more or less what I said, you know. You say, I'm very close to so-and-so, you know, and oh no, you know, I've been so many times to, you know, or had dinner or lunch or whatever with this famous person, that famous. So the person pretends to have a certain, you know, kind of a relationship with people we know and we trust and we like, to give them credibility. Sometimes this is subtle. Charles repeated many times last week, sometimes they use these names, these situations, to bring messages, and messages that are repeated from, you know, good spirits. But at one point, they are very subtle to introduce something that is not or has not been said by those good spirits, but they put there and give them credibility. So we won't doubt, we won't say this comes from you and that comes from them, they are more elevated than you. No, we accept as being part of a, you know, a collective idea of good spirits, whereas the spirit telling us that is not that elevated or has not good intentions in doing so. In this way, they flatter the vanity of the medium and take advantage of it to induce him or her to lamentable and foolish acts. We see that in here, in this last sentence here, signs of obsession. So, you know, just to gain the confidence of the medium, to flatter the vanity of the medium, and then convince the medium to do something, you know, that they want. Number 15, good spirits are very scrupulous regarding the attitudes they wish to advise. In every case, they only have a serious and eminently useful purpose in mind. And Kardec has put it in italics in the text, highlighting that to us. Serious and eminently useful purpose in mind. So they won't spend time telling us things that, you know, have no good purpose or you know, useful purpose for us. They, you know, usually, as has been mentioned before, they talk and spend time talking about, you know, charges, things and times, or trying to, you know, convince us of certain ideas that in some cases are clear absurd. Thus, we must regard with suspicion all advice which does not display this character, or which reason would condemn, and we must maturely reflect before accepting it. Otherwise, we open ourselves to unfortunate deception. And this is the thing, before accepting it, you know, the spirits will come, they'll communicate, and that has to be analyzed, evaluated. It's been said so many times, good spirits, they will expect nothing less than this from us, to be careful, to be scrupulous regarding the communication. If we have to reject, as Kardec himself said, 99 truth in order to, keep us from accepting one falsity, we do that because the truth will always come. In one way or another, from here, from there, it will come back. But the falsity is there for a certain purpose at that moment. And if it's false, it will never come back. So that's why we should be very careful before accepting what spirits say. 16. Good spirits may also be recognized by their prudent reserve when touching upon matters that may compromise us. Unveiling evil is repugnant to them, whereas frivolous and malefic spirits love exposing it. They'll never say, oh, such and such a person is so evil, he's, doing so much evil, or, no. They are always very subtle in both ways to, encourage us in doing something that is good. As has been said before, they won't make, a fuss, they won't, call too much attention to that. They are always very subtle in pointing out the way. And also, they'll never criticize and point out, unveil evil, because for them, that is not the behavior that they should have. We see that when reading, books, especially by André Luiz, we see that when, the elevated spirits, they come to a situation where there's a lot of evil and hatred involved, they never criticize. They never say, oh, there's a spirit, he's so evil. When they mention something in the sense that, oh, this spirit needs a lot, he's lacking a lot, he needs a lot. That's the way they look at evil, as, the perpetrators as people in great need, and not someone to be exposed, as, Kardec points out here. While good spirits seek to mitigate error and proclaim indulgence, evil ones exaggerate it and breathe discord through harmful insinuations. That's what they like doing. That's what, they say. For instance, suppose a medium or someone from the group was absent today in the meeting. Sometimes they say, yeah, you should look carefully what he's doing when he's not here, or the reason why he or she is not here today, or, they like putting one against the other, and in this way, they'll destroy the harmony of the group and, destroy the good work that the group intends to do. So good spirits will never do that. Never expose in that way, never create such a situation. And evil spirits are very keen, they're ready to do that whenever they see the chance.
Munir.
Yes?
So,
Oh, hi,
Lise.
Thanks, Charles.
Hi there. Oops, I would like to elaborate on this particular chapter paragraph, because it's not just when we receive it, when we're listening to the advice from spirits, but it's what we ourselves do with that advice, which also can be compromising. A case in point is, when I was having discussions with my son and my father, and I was asking about a close relative, and it was confirmed that that particular relative was actually getting manipulated by a particular should we say religious or whatever center. And I was trying to be as subtle as I can to warn them, you know, that, yeah, my misgivings were, you know, confirmed, were correct. But you see, is that in effect compromising someone? Is that ourselves? You know, we have to be so very careful in the advice that we impart from the advice that we're given. You know, that advice may have been given to me purely for my own benefit, confidentially.
Yeah.
And the onus is on me as to decide, well, should I impart that advice? Although it's helpful, am I breaking the free will? Is it, you know, am I stopping that person having their own lessons? It's a really, really tricky situation, isn't it?
Yeah, something for us to learn. But Liz, you know, this is a manual on how to behave as well. When we behave, you know, when we talk to people, are we behaving like the good spirits here? Trying not to expose the negative side of someone. Are we trying to actually mitigate the other side and try to be benevolent and charitable, and, you know, using the piece of advice that we should ask and talk to the person, you know, in private, instead of exposing the person? So whatever we see here, we should look at, you know, when analyzing the level of the spirit who's talking to us, we should do in our daily lives, and we should try to follow as well. So when they say here, you know, don't try to answer questions about things you don't know. Well, it's good for us, you know, you should apply that to us as well, you know. So if good spirits behave like this, I should, you know, use this as you know, a way for me to behave as well.
Well, Munir, I gave this advice in confidence, you know, it wasn't, you know, out in the open, but also it rests very heavily on my conscience, you know, because it's a very, very fine line. What right do we have?
It is.
Or should we? Is it an opportunity to help guide that person, or are we interfering or intervening? Yeah, morally, ethically.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of, you know, having trouble with that, you know, on my conscience.
I know, but if you had good intentions, if you have good intentions, this is a lesson. You know,
Right.
that's how we learn. Next time, perhaps you try to do it in a different way. You're always trying to do your best. This is what counts, you know, is the effort you make to behave better every time. So
yeah,
that's how we learn. We don't go and, you know, get it right the first time. No, it takes us a long time, but we should follow these as, you know, a guide for us to behave, you know. And I think that's why this lesson is so precious, because it tells us, you know, what is the behavior of a good spirit and what is the behavior or evil spirits, that we should mirror ourselves and say, well, I want to be like the good ones, so I should, you know, practice what they do, you know.
yeah. Thank you.
Good, thanks, Liz. Hi, Sandra.
I think very quickly, because we are about to finish, you know.
Yeah, it went so quickly.
Okay, as a chaplain, I have all everyday students and even member of staff coming to me and ask for advice.
Yeah.
And then when I say, okay, let's pray together, and if someone was the, you know, the person that is making a trouble, and then the person, either the student, the staff say, oh, I'm going to pray for that person. That is making me sad. I said, of course, yes, we pray for that person first, and then we are going to pray for you. And they said, no, but they want an action, what to do. Yes, the action is to pray. So they are expecting something, I don't know, kind of a revenge. But I'm talking about adults as well. So you see?
Yes, wonderful. Yeah, slowly we change, you know, because people expect always a reaction according to a certain pattern. And it's important to break them and show the benefits of doing it in a different way, you know. Wonderful. Thanks, Sandra. Well, time is up. I volunteer for the prayer. Quick prayer, just to thank.
I can
Pablo.
do it.
Okay. Who said that? Oh, Liz. Yes, Liz, please. Thanks.
Let's elevate our thoughts and open our hearts to all the knowledge that we have discussed in this great lesson that we had today. And being grateful for all the blessings that we have had so far in our lives, in our evolution. And asking our Lord Jesus, our benefactors, to give us strength and courage to keep going on this path of reflection, of learning, of embetterment. Thank you very much, dear Lord. And may you bless us all, our families, throughout this week. Amen.
So be it.
Amen.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So see you
Nice
all
weekend.
next week. Yeah. Take care. God bless.
Sorry,
Bye-bye.
Munir. Sorry, Munir. I think we are going to have the prayer 11:30. It's on their WhatsApp. Prayer for peace.
11:30?
Yeah. That I think we had the last Saturday, no?
Oh, I wasn't here last Saturday.
Oh, yes, Charles, we had